A protracted legal battle lasting years, the Constitutional Court declared Vela Shembe the rightful leader of the Shembe Church. It began when the leader of the Ebuhleni faction approached the court to review a Supreme Court of Appeal judgment naming Vela the rightful leader. But what's next? Both factions of the Nazareth Baptist Church are holding briefings today. eNCA's Ebuhleni has been following that story and joins us now for an update. And Tuba, it's one thing for the court sitting in Braamfontein, the apex court, to say that this matter is settled finally, but it's the lived reality of members of the Nazareth Baptist Church that will matter at the end of it all. How is the judgment being received, and does it look from the conversation you've been having like this will be accepted and will finally bring unity within the church itself?
That's what we've been trying to understand. In fact, over the years, as you said, it started in 2011 when the then leader of the church passed on, Inkosi Uthingole Nkosazana, in 2011. And then on his funeral, that's where the issues arose when two leaders were announced as his successor. The matter has been in court for a number of years. You will know it started here in Durban, and then the judge here, the deputy judge president in KZN, ruled in favor of Vela Shembe, who also in 2018 also passed away. Now, yesterday, we understand that the Constitutional Court has also upheld the judgments of the previous courts, including the Supreme Court of Appeal, that indeed Vela Shembe was the rightful leader of the church. But what we are trying to understand, Thulasizwe, is how is this judgment being received by senior members of the church and ordinary members of the church. As you'll understand, this is the second biggest church in Africa. They have over 5 million membership here in South Africa. Let me now speak to Ubaba Ncane, who's the senior member of the church. Ubaba Ncane, thank you so much for your time. Just firstly, how the judgment was received by the members of the church.
Well, the judgment from the Constitutional Court yesterday was accepted, and we will be respecting it. And we further say that since the pronouncement of the judgment from the Supreme Court of Appeal as well as the Constitutional Court, in as far as we are concerned, there is nothing new in as far as our standing and position as the Nazareth Baptist Church at Ebuhleni.
Babu Ncane, if you are saying there is nothing new, we know that the court ruled in favor of the late Vela Shembe, but on your side you have Inkosi Mduduzi Shembe Unyazi as the leader of the church. How is that going to affect you following Unyazi?
We will not be affected, and in responding to your question, I will try not to get to the interpretation of the judgment, as well as perhaps the trust deed of the church, which is Protocol 293 of 1935, may be touching on the Constitution of 1999. I will prefer not to touch on that. However, states that immediately after the full court judgment in Pietermaritzburg, a proper decision was taken within the church. That was in May 2018. We were very clear as to our position, and we acted upon what we were entitled to, and we are very satisfied with our decision to say that irrespective of what the court orders says or the findings of the court order said, but the fact that Mr. MV Shembe is late, we are following Inkosi Unyazi Zulu, and we are not affected by the yesterday's judgment pertaining to that until such time the adverse can be proved. But in as far as we are concerned, being the church, in terms of our religious convictions, we are quite satisfied that we have seen Shembe in him, meaning Unyazi Zulu, and we're going to follow him until his time.
We know that during this past 10 years, during the legal battle, there were two factions. Any plans to reunite the two factions? We know that there is Ebuhleni, where you are coming from, and there is also a Tembezinhle, where the late Ubabu Vela Shembe is from.
Well, I will say to you that it is unfortunate that we have been engaged in such a lengthy litigation, which was very costly. However, we need the world to know that this is an organization which is having all the capabilities to deal with any situation internally. Therefore, we're saying internal processes subject to the decorum and the respect of the church are open. However, we're saying that we respect the religious convictions of the following from either group. If people think that Shembe is on the other side, they are entitled in as far as their choice of their freedom of religion to follow whoever. But all we're saying is that doors are open, provided those doors are strictly in line with the internal processes of the church. Not arrogance, not alien means. We need to confine ourselves to the acceptable decorum of the Nazareth Baptist Church, as it was found and taught to us by the elders as well as the founder of the church.
Babungwane, thank you so much for your time. That was the senior member of the church, Ebuhleni, Ncane, explaining how the judgment was welcomed by members of the church. We understand this is a very complex issue to Lasizwe. There are two factions, as I said earlier on. From here, we're going to attend another media briefing that is going to be addressed by the members of eThembezindle. That is the faction where the late Vela Shembe was leading. So we will hear what they are saying, but from what Babungwane said here, it looks like the issues and the tensions are still going to be taking place within the church. As he said, they are not going to change anything, because if you look at the judgment that was laid down by the Constitutional Court yesterday, ruled in favor of the late leader, of late Vela Shembe, saying the Constitution, he was nominated by the then leader through the will, and the court confirmed that indeed he was the rightful leader. But on the other side, they are saying no, they have, as the leadership of the church, they have met and they have decided to nominate and appoint Duduzi Unyazlwezulu Shembe as the leader, and they are following him. Whatever happens in court, it's not going to affect them.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the complexities. Thank you for unpacking it so well there, Ebuhleni, out there in Durban for us. It's really complex. The Constitutional Court can only rule on the interpretation of the rules and the law and how the Constitution applies in all of it. But at the end of the day, it becomes a matter of conscience, as you heard there from the guest that Ebuhleni was talking to, about what this means for one of the factions of the Nazareth Baptist Church. So it does seem that they are sticking to their guns, and they're saying that they are following their religious convictions.